tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Oh.
This is deep, man.
This is the Smiths.
Yeah.
I know it's over. It starts, oh mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head.
Oh, it's
Is
grim.
this going to be like a poetry reading?
No.
Joe's got some stuff deep inside him he'd like to
I'm
get
actually way more excited. I'm way more excited than
I gotta
this song.
get it out.
Welcome
with
to
a microphone.
welcome to the Bates Motel AfterBuzz After Show
Yes,
Season
yes.
4. We're so very, very, very excited to be back. I mean, it's been a year since we've been back to good old White Pine Bay, and there's a lot going on and lots to talk about. But before we get into that, we'll do a little recap of kind of like bringing us back up to where we were, where we left off, and talk about all the crazy shit that happened.
They did not hold back this episode.
Not at all.
No.
But first,
Straight
I
back
should
to the
say,
crazy.
Yep.
I should say that I'm Joe Braswell, as you may or may not know. I'm joined this season by the lovely Du'a Kaissi.
This season and every season. Hi,
Yes.
everybody. Welcome.
And I'm also joined by my good friend Joe Sanfelippo.
Nice to be here with you guys.
Yeah, look at that. No jabs, no nothing.
Well, what do you want me to
Just a
say?
straight intro to you.
Oh, you're saying you did not say anything
Yeah.
nasty about me before introducing me.
My good friend Joe Sanfelippo.
Wow, that's very adult of you.
This
I'm
is
going
the
to get you a special hat.
We're not. You may know that we are not joined by our old friend Nando. He's not going to be joining us this season, but we will be joined by our old friend Julia Kerry. If you're familiar with us from our other shows, you know Julia. We've done shows together. The four of us have done shows together, so
Yes.
we are back
Ish.
in a sense. So not blackish.
No, backish, because
But
Julia's not
backish.
here yet.
I want to say thank you. First of all, thank you guys for being so loyal and checking us out, and all the guys who are. You can kill the Smiths, Zach, for Christ's sake. I'm gonna fall asleep.
That was your choice.
It's my choice, but I'm already I'm dying. No, thank you. We're back. We're so happy to be here. For those of you who know us, we've been doing this for 3 seasons on iTunes and YouTube. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, thank you very much for joining us on iTunes. If it's your first time here, we talk about the Bates Motel. We break it down in our own way. We have a lot of fun, and we have guests. We have Kerry, Ehrin, and Nestor Carbonell, and
Tracy Spiridakos.
Yes.
and Kenny.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we love the show, and we hope we'll have a lot of that more this season. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello, you can see us. If you're streaming live right now, thank you for doing that as well. I know I see that some of you are doing that, so hello to you guys who are streaming live. Now that that's done,
Let's get into it.
I learned something about the Smiths today. I mean, if I ever decide to choke myself out autoerotic,
Oh,
that's what I'm going to be playing.
Smiths
That's
are
the last
cool.
thing I hear.
Okay.
That's going to be it.
that's the last thing. It's gonna be. I mean, the Smiths are good. They're good for some depressive,
Yeah.
stuff.
A little bubble bath.
Anyway, I digress. Let's not talk about ways to kill ourselves. Let's talk about the Bates Motel.
We don't live in the Pacific Northwest.
I do want to say hello to Kevin and Kilgrave and Marcelli and Mary K. Pearl and all you guys, the rest of you guys who are joining us in the live chat room. Thank you very much. And
Sounds
hello
like
to all you
Kilgrave
guys.
probably gets the Smiths a little bit too. That there's probably a little. You're connecting.
Little Jessica Jones action. So I first want to say, as I say this every goddamn season,
Are you going to say that
this
this is a great show?
Well, no. Before I say it's a great show, I want to
You're going
say
to bang on the table about it.
how wonderful it is to be back in White Pine Bay.
Mm-hmm.
It is like they do such a great job with just the general tone of this show. It's such a very specific tone and a specific mood that when you're transported back to the lovely, calming fog of the Pacific Northwest town of White Pine Bay, it just feels like a home, a very creepy home.
Mm-hmm.
And they do just instantly. I'm like, oh yeah, this show. oh yeah, this is great, and it's just wonderful to be here. I don't know. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And every time I watch it, I'm always like, I would like to go spend more time in the Pacific Northwest than I have spent. I think I've got 2 weeks all in.
Yeah.
And it is a very different. If you live in Southern California,
I don't want to go there, but I just.
No, you do. It's a neat thing. And you know, you get that. There's a very specific feeling up there because there's so much green and there's so much water and there's so much just forestiness that we don't have down here. The lifestyle is so much different.
It is different, and the show is different. The show has a very specific feel, and immediately, I feel transported back to this wonderful place and back to the wonderful mood. And I love that they picked up right where we left off. Right? I mean, I thought, because some places some shows like do a time jump or they'll do something else, but this is like, oh, boom, you're right here.
Yeah, I think it was just a few days, right?
Romero was still burying.
No, it was instantly.
But there was the sign that said, "Been missing for 2 days since Friday," and then there was the picture of Norman, and he'd been missing for 2 days. So 2 days had passed. But you're right, because I think the last season, season 3, they time jumped. I think a whole summer, like 4 months.
Yeah.
And so they kept up, and you're right, they had the exact same tone. I want to stop for just a second, and I want to talk about the opening scene of this show, because it was symbolic, it was beautiful, and it was fabulous. The opening scene, they open on Romero burying Bob Parrish's body.
Yep.
If you guys remember, and all the fans that actually watched, because A&E played all of the past previous episodes, if you watched the final episode of season 3, Bob Parrish and Sheriff Romero's conversation about the boat.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? Sheriff Romero always wanted a boat, and he really wanted a boat. And that boat symbolized, when that boat was sinking in the very, very first scene, it symbolized, Sheriff Romero's, winnings. It symbolized him taking over the whole town and him never. So I just thought that was a beautiful way to open the whole season.
It was a beautiful way to open the whole season, but also in that same moment, there's also a very literal shot of Sheriff Romero paddling away with actual blood in his hands.
Yeah.
Which I mean, he's got the blood in his hands, and he's actually paddling away, which was a little
almost a little heavy-handed in my opinion for this show. I think a little more soft.
It was on the nose. I just want to go back and just get some bullet points as to some of the things from last season. I know we all know, if you're watching this or listening to this, but I didn't forget. So we ended last season with the dramatic thing of like Dylan and Emma kiss. That happened, so we know that they like each other. That happened. Emma had these going on away from her surgery. We know that. Mm-hmm. We find out about the Pineview Mental Institution. We see the takedown of Bob Parris. We saw that. Mm-hmm. We finally see it. It finally happens. Mother Norman comes out. We see full blown Norma being Norma, and also Norman, kind of he makes his first real sort of kill as Norma officially. And I think there was some debate. We had Kerry Ehrin on for last time. There was some debate whether or not it actually was, if it really was Bradley, or if it was just, because we never actually saw if it was really Bradley or not. But I
think they made pretty darn
clear.
It's definitely.
I was the only one who was like, well, maybe it's just him imagining the whing. I was the only idiot.
No, they made extraordinarily clear in the recap. They're like, they had a nice voice over the whole thing.
So we pick up right where we left off. Romero is burying, and I wonder if they got my man Kevin Ram, because to do that one scene, because that was him. Like, I don't know if they shot that last season or whatever, but just they fly him up to have that one dead body scene, because that was creepy as hell.
It was. I would think. Do you think makeup just did like a prosthetic of his face?
I don't know.
And put it on like a dummy or on like a body double.
I think that was him, but we'll ask. But I think that was him. But maybe they shot it last season, or maybe he did one day.
Well, there's no rule that says they had to shoot that in Vancouver either. They could have shot that here. They could have who knows what they did.
But anyway, I thought that was cool to sort of see his face as a painful reminder as to what's going on. So we're back. And then we get, like you said, we open to, we'll kind of go through the story linearly, and we'll kind of bounce around and talk about these characters, because one of the things that the show is also fantastic at is setting this mood of mystery, right? Like, so every time there's a new character that shows up, they're instantly shrouded in mystery, and you're like, what's back there? And it's
what's
not
their story?
In a cheesy way. It's just really like in a compelling, like, I want to know everything about this person who clearly has a backstory that we are not supposed to know about, a la Emma's mom, which we'll talk about, get to that in a second. But
I thought that was a great choice, by the way.
I mean,
really great choice to bring her on.
I mean, Karina Logue is the actress, and I had to look it up. I mean, are they related? they look a lot alike.
Yeah, I liked her introduction scene. Did you guys see that with her carrying the luggage the way that Emma always carries the oxygen tank?
She was Emma.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it was the whole thing. Like even with the dress and everything was exactly Emma to me, and I thought that was really interesting and it was cool. Anyway, so we open up with we saw Romero and that thing happened, and we find out that Norma's missing, and we get reintroduced to Norma, who is her warring self, and she seems to have a decent relationship going on with Dylan. With Dylan. I'm going to call him Max. These relationships going on with Dylan because they've been sort of on the rocks before, but now she asked about Emma and seems to be okay with it.
That was kind of weird, right? That Norma was okay with Emma and Dylan.
Yeah, it was weird.
Well, I think Norma's kind of turned a corner a lot on her point of view about Norman. Like, there's no more fantasy that Norman's going to be okay. I think that's gone.
Yeah.
Well, more importantly, her turned the corner on her relationship with Dylan, because that was always so fraught, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and if you think of Emma as like the thing between two brothers, she would have always hoped that Norman would be okay to do this, to have a relationship, to be. I remember in season 1, she didn't want Emma to be dealing with Norman at all because she was the sick girl. You remember that?
Right.
Yeah.
And at this point, though, I think she's flipped the script so hard on Norman. There's no more delusion as to whether or not he's going to be able to handle an adult relationship. So. Right. That opens the door for Dylan, at least for her mentally, I think.
Do you think this
is... Well, this is what I think is that I think that she's so... I mean, in previous seasons, we've always talked about the fact that she is so selfish and self-centered and really kind of has the mentality of a 17-year-old girl. So when all she's thinking about is Norman and the mental institution, and Dylan says, I'm not going with you, I would think that she'd be like, why? Now, I guess a lung transplant is pretty big, but I would think that she'd be like, I can't believe that you're going to choose between me and her. And the fact that she didn't, like, I loved that choice.
Yeah.
But it was just shocking.
What do you think this means for the relationship of Dylan and Norma? I mean, do we think that they're going to stay like this? Are they going to, I mean, are they getting closer? Is Norma going to be that wedge between them again? Like, because it feels like things are pretty good.
I think that it's pretty good. I think they're really kind of just trying to settle into their storyline with Dylan and Emma, and I think they're going to delve in there a lot deeper. And I think that Norma is really going to revolve around Norman for the majority of this. Sure. And I think that they really don't have anything, like they'll come meet again at some point that we don't know about, but right now they're kind of just separating off.
So we do get an idea after searching around. We do get pretty good idea. Well, we find Norman. We find Norman where he is in the middle of the field somewhere, and he's after his blackout, but he wakes up. Which is interesting. He doesn't wake up like, where am I? What happened? He wakes up having he wakes up with Mother.
Yeah.
Full-blown
argument. As Norman, with Norman. So the thing that's, which I loved. A great scene. But here's the thing, like the thing that I love, and the thing that I'm also trying to figure out is there's 3 versions of Norman, right? So there's Norman as Norman who's just bumping around when the real Norma's present. Then there's a Norman who's Norman, but yet sees the imaginary Norma and has conversations with her, like, Mother, what are you doing? And then there's Norman, who is just Norma.
Yeah, Mother Norma, as Kerry Ehrin called it when she was here, that in the writer's room they have so much difficulty that they refer to her as Mother Norma. So anytime that Norman is encapsulating Norma's persona, we refer to it as Mother Norma.
So this was just Norman having a conversation with imaginary Norma, and a conversation was a full-blown argument, as you saw, Joe, and it was. I thought that was it was a fantastic scene. I was just laughing out loud just at the intention. I don't even call it unintentional comedy, because I think this show, as we learned, is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's not unintentional. It's not like it's purposely funny. I think the tone is perfect, because I laughed out loud probably about 8 times during this episode at character quirks of Norma, at Romero, at Norman. Like, I laughed out loud, and then I also screamed out loud like a girl. Yeah. So that's what this does.
Well, I think they would have to do that. The show would just definitely.
You screamed, did you?
I did. I was so lulled to sleep by being in love with this show. Like, I love this show, and then he's a killer. Yeah, I'm like, I forgot. Like, he kills people.
That is a 6'5". What? That's a 6'5" scream. That's a lot of scream right there.
Oh, sorry. Du'a, you were saying?
I'm sorry, I'm stuck in your screen.
You were saying, Du'a.
Well, now I forgot. I'm
sorry. No, so Norman arguing with Norma was great.
I love the perspective that they took on it, that they actually had an outsider looking in on it. So you actually see for the first time, because we've all taken the journey with Norman, right? So we might be a little bit used to it, but when you put in an outsider who's seeing it for the first time, you now get your perspective twisted, which I thought was great for them to do, because now you see how crazy he is.
And how small. Like, because, you know, if you get caught up in what happened at the end of last season with him and Bradley, and how terrified she was, and how physical and how violent, and then I love the casting, by the way. They're like the farmer. I don't know if there's a farmer, or just the guy out in the field, whoever caught him, but just the casting is just a nice looking, nice guy. I'm not come with me, son. Let me help you out. He ducks him and pops him in the face so fast, and down goes Norman, because you forget, like, he's 5'10", 160 pounds. Wind would knock him down.
Which I thought was fantastic. And almost, and Norman's wild, like, haymaker swing. The guy's like, down goes Norman.
That's when Braswell screamed, by the way.
I did write.
After that punch.
I did write. Norman got knocked the F out, is what I wrote.
And then,
but thank you.
So, but the other thing about it that I thought was nice was was not just that he knocked him out, but the way they shot it too was I don't know about you guys. I felt that the farmer was in danger. I thought, oh shit, he's gonna kill this guy, and then you get reminded very clearly that he's capable of killing women, but he's not capable of really killing someone who's on his point, because he's not a big guy. He's a little guy.
I don't know that he's capable. Well, I mean, I think he's capable of killing anyone, but I think it has to be the element of surprise.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if somebody's on point and they're on guard, he's not big enough to do it.
And also, just at the end of last season, don't forget, was the first time we actually saw, they did a very specific thing in that transformation of Norman and Norma, where we as the audience did get to see him for the first time talk to no one. That was we talked about the carols as a really interesting moment. So they doubled down on this by actually that wide shot of him, like, in a field where there's clearly no one there. Like, there's no one around the corner. There's no buildings. It's just an open field. He's like, mother. So, that was fantastic to see. So he gets knocked out, and the poor guy takes him to a county-run facility, which
looks like something out of a Dickens nightmare, doesn't it? Like,
it was.
We live in Los Angeles. I don't know where you think these things.
No,
are.
but I mean, like, the choices were interesting. I mean, there was like some element of fog somehow permeating the place. Like there's a guy with a fog machine just walking around county going, you know what? There's way too much clarity here.
I do like, and then we get introduced to the doctor, who that back and forth with Norma and her, I thought was also fascinating and fantastic, because she's just like,
it was good. I find there was one thing, and there's so many things that I love about the show, and I know that sometimes we do need to suspend reality on some things. But when she asked her whether or not she was a Christian Scientist, I was like, isn't that a kind of an unethical question of a doctor to ask?
No. Christian Scientists believe that you're not allowed to use any extraordinary modern medicine.
But the way she asked was so judgmental.
Well, I mean, I think she was basically trying to find out, like, why would this woman?
Why would you possibly allow your 18-year-old son? There's no reason. You must be a Christian Scientist.
So wait a second. Wait, you know what I'm saying? It would be like the equivalent of, like, no, I can't eat pork. Well, what do you mean you can't eat? Wait a minute. Is it religious?
Yeah.
Should I?
Right.
And I thought that was because Christian Scientists do believe that you cannot do any of that stuff, which is madness. But
and again,
I'll put some judgment on it. I'm sorry.
Even the delivery of that was like comical. And then what I liked about that exchange, what I like about these last two exchanges we see with Dr. my man, Dr. what's his name, played by Dr. Edwards. Dr. Gay Edwards.
That's what he said.
but the interaction with Dr. Edwards.
You're gay? No, that's my first name. Gay Edwards.
The interaction with Dr. Edwards and interaction with this woman whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but I like them both because it's an opportunity for us as the audience to be reminded that Norma interacting with normal people. It's like Norma's Norma. It's not to get caught up in her craziness, but like when someone normal's like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, she's a little nutty.
Yeah,
it's Norma.
When she's
like
in
mother
that,
like son.
Yeah. But I love the way they shoot it too, because when she's in that house, having driven that car to the motel, and she's wearing her bizarre Norma clothing that is outdated and what we're all comfortable with when she's in that scenario, and left is right and up is down, and it all kind of makes sense because we get the whole thing. But you're right, those moments where she's in the outside world trying to negotiate normal shit, and she just cannot function. And then going back to Pleasant Fields or Pleasant
View?
Pleasant View, same thing.
No,
like
Pine View.
She burned that bridge the first time she was there. And just to see that lady be like, there's no guarantees. There's a wait list, probably.
Yeah. I'm ready. Oh, do you have a dog? No. I'm just ready. It's so funny because there are some things to her character that just don't change. Like she's so impulsive, and she's gonna go and she's gonna do this, and she has no clue. Like, and no rules, anything. Just she'll just do it, which is great.
Well, speaking of that, I want to transition into her interaction with Romero. The first time we see her and Romero together, she rolls up and Romero's in the company. He's like, "I got a little work, Norma." He's like, "Well, I need your help. Like this has to happen." It's like, "What do you want me to do about it?"
Yeah.
It's like, "I'm gonna beat someone up in a parking lot. Do
Right?
something."
Yeah.
Like, be Romero. He's like,
I love Romero's reaction to Norma because he's it's so endearing. He understands that she's crazy, and he's just like, but he doesn't, he never folds, and I think that they're this perfect combination, and all of their scenes have become kind of the comic relief dispersed throughout the episode. It's hilarious. It's great.
Well, it also just speaks to this now relationship they've had, because basically whenever Norma's been in trouble, she can go to Romero as like the Mr. Wolf, if you will, and not a little more than bat her eyelashes, but she's Norma as the character does a very good job of going from extreme vulnerability and the need to just you want to just take care of her to extreme ice queen. She can go back and forth on a dime, and when she does play up the extreme vulnerability, it's pretty hard to say no to, as we saw with Dr. Edwards, it's pretty hard to say no to Norma. So she's used to that very much used to that with Romero. So she comes to him like, what now, Norma? Norma's locked up in a facility. Do something.
Well, wait 48 hours.
Well, his reply is like, Norma, I'm not magical. It's a very Flippo response. I thought it'd be Flippo. That's something you would say. I'm not magical. What do you think I do here? I don't know. Go beat someone up. Do what you do.
Make it happen.
Yeah. It just speaks to sort of Norma's vulnerability and her sort of need to be taken care of sometimes, and her
damsel in distress,
and the way she leans on Norma, on Romero for that, which is interesting. And sometimes before that, sometimes her brother, and before that and sometimes Norman, and sometimes Dylan. And this is kind of what she does, which is interesting. So then we go back, and then I think before that we see the hospital, and we sort of see poor Emma, about to get her operation, and she seems like she's in. It was good to see her, by the way.
And I love the dichotomy of hospital. They don't. They went to great lengths to pick the most gorgeous hospital on earth that she is getting her lung transplant in.
All Saints Hospital.
It was amazing. Yeah. I was like, I want to get sick to go.
Yeah.
They go in
maybe
the
it's
lobby,
real. I don't know.
9,000 stories tall.
Yeah.
And it's all beautifully wood paneled, hand carved, I might add. And it was just amazing. Italian marble. That's the only marble I get sick
It's a
on.
practical sense, so it's a real hospital somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. It was gorgeous.
Or either in Vancouver, because Americans don't have that.
No, we don't have that kind of shit.
Canada.
He went there.
Canada has some great health care.
No,
Anyway,
it's terrible.
I
That's why
digress.
they come down here. They never come down here for that.
I digress. Go ahead.
No, so you always have that discussion with somebody who thinks that socialized medicine is going to end the world. They're like, Canadians come here. Like, when? When have Canadians ever come here for procedure? Anyway.
Politics aside,
the dichotomy they draw between the hospitals was intense and insane, and I just think that they almost made those two little characters because the county was so overly bad, much.
That's a brilliant observation.
Was it brilliant?
It's brilliant.
I would say it was fairly.
It's a brilliant moment by Flippo.
I appreciate your acknowledgement.
all right, take it easy.
Grandpa over there is mad at me. I didn't do anything to him.
Brilliant's a little heavy-handed. So we do get we do meet. So we see Emma's dad. Who looks a lot better, as you know.
Hello, no. I noted this. I should have saved. When did he get so hot? Do you remember him season 1 where he opens the door? No,
when guys shave their head, they get really hot.
He was wearing a.
No. What happened?
He obviously has larger pectorals. Right. He has before.
Is this important to the?
Well, I just think that his character. It's important to his character development because.
Now he's hot.
Yeah, before he was just taxidermy is not a sexy thing, and he was like the protective father that was like a taxidermist, and now he's like the.
Now he's a hot dad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I'll throw you out of here. That's
I agree. And then
I was taken aback. That's all I'm saying. I wasn't expecting it.
Well, and I wasn't either. But we get to see like a little more insight into his character, more backstory into Emma, because the Emma clone comes in, which is actually her mother, and there's clearly there's no love lost between the two of them, and for Dylan to play my buddy Max, for Dylan to play that role of the audience, to sort of watch it through, and we're watching it through Dylan's eyes, watching them interact, and like, what's going on? What's the story here? And so again, shrouded in mystery. I want to know more about this woman that we may or may not get to know more about, because what may or may not.
Is she dead?
Well, so we may or may not get to know more about.
She did.
She's dead?
She did.
Okay.
Well, is she dead?
Well, we'll get to that. So anyway, so there's that.
Oh, you know, you got some insight. I guess.
Does anybody else have any insight on this? If you guys are
Braswell
listening,
has it locked
listening
up.
in
He's got it
the,
sorted.
listening online, feel free to chime in.
I may or may not have the first few episodes.
Hashtag.
Oh, dang! Somebody's got screeners. That's right. Oh, curse snap!
But also,
I remember that. Somebody's hoarding screeners.
But also may or may not have watched them, so I actually have no idea what I'm talking about. So, okay.
Don't listen. You don't get to predict.
Right. So anyway, so that was interesting, and then we get to the scene we're talking about where Norma is after she goes to she takes a visit to Pine View and has a nice conversation with that lovely lady who's just all smiles. I'm like, you'll never get in here.
Not you.
They just saw each other. What was it? A couple of days beforehand.
Like, oh, dear, no, it's insurance. And
I can
doctors,
smell crazy on you. I treat the crazies.
It's not. I know you need help, but that's come on. You know, and I love the way she played that. So then she runs and has this interaction with Dr. Edwards, which I thought was fantastic, and played by Damon Gupton, I think his name is.
Poor Dr. Edwards. I was like, dude, run! Like
well, he's great.
This is all bad.
Yeah, and we've seen him he's in Empire and a bunch of other stuff, and in Whiplash and a bunch of cool stuff.
No, I mean the character. Like you see
really?
the
character. No, he's a it's been 1,000 things. He's a great actor, but like great character actor. But to see him in this role and that interaction with Norma pulling out all of her Norma tricks,
the reaction was so spot on.
all the bag of crazy, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Then she turns on the kind of the flirty move, like I'm sure a guy like
Look,
you.
I'm gay, so stop.
Don't try that. Call me in my office. Oh, you're gay. No, don't try that either. I'm gay.
Yeah.
Now what? And then she was forced to strip down to vulnerable Norma.
Yeah.
And it was, and God, Vera Farmiga. I mean, I'll say it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Good at acting.
I love her so much.
Anyway,
I had no idea it was a talent whore until this show. I never knew.
So switching into that vulnerable mode and that speech that Norma gave, like I'm jumping through the TV. I'm like, help her!
Yeah.
It
was
help
good.
her, Doc.
Yeah, she plays vulnerable really, really well.
Which also reminds me, and speaking of that, and just kind of transitioning into the performances, who else plays vulnerable well? Is Freddie Highmore. Like that guy also, like this show, another thing this show does extremely well aside from everything, but specifically it does a great job again of making us extremely sympathetic of our two protagonists who are a murderer and maybe a murderess and two crazy people, Norman and Norma. Like the whole time I'm like, get him out of there. Get him out of the facility. Like, let him see his mom. Poor Norman, the poor boy. And Norma's running around. I'm like, help her, Doc. It's Norma. You gotta help each other.
You know what's so interesting is that it really shows. I feel like old Norma, or a few seasons before Norma, when Dr. Edwards kind of brushed her off a little bit at the beginning, she would have been like, well, screw you. But this just shows exactly how desperate she is and like what level of desperation that she's in. That her son is completely, she just doesn't know what to do, and anytime they're separated, something goes wrong. Every time they're together, everything's all right, and I think that we mentioned that in previous seasons.
Right. I agree. So
piggybacking on what you said, it's almost meta what they're doing with the show, because like we respond to it in a way that almost makes us Norma. It almost makes us, because we emphasize. I'm sorry, we have so much empathy for Norma and for Norman that we automatically empathize with them on like this ridiculous level. Yeah. Even though everything they do is so antisocial and so dangerous to everybody else. And when a coordinator, like the coordinator from county, she represents reality. She's everybody else. She is our normal day-to-day life. Interacts with them in a negative way and says, "No, you're crazy. How could you not have taken care of this kid? How could you not have gotten him treatment? There's no religious reason for this. You're just a terribly negligent person."
Right.
And you're all the stuff that society should be saying to her. We respond to her emotionally as an audience that she is the antagonist.
Yeah.
And it's just it's kind of like
it's an incredible magic trick that Kerry, Ehrin, and Carlton Cuse and all these guys have done.
Wonderful trick on us.
It's like they do it on purpose.
Well, and also I just want to, as since we're talking about the writers and creators, I also want to just shout out Tucker Gates again, who is one of the main sort of architects of the show. He directed this episode, directs a lot of the episodes. Who's pretty much as Nestor and Kerry said, it sets most of the tone of these shows. And this episode is always extremely well directed. The shots, the way they frame Norman, the way they choose to show Norman when he's Norman, when he's Norma, the angles. I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but there's the whole interaction when they're back together and the haircutting scene, and the transformation scene. I mean, I think this is some really, really outstanding television directing. I think, and I don't want it to go unnoticed. And Tucker Gates, who's been doing the damn thing for 3 seasons, is really doing a damn thing in this premiere. I think,
and then Nestor is set to direct a few more episodes this season as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I think at least one. I don't know if it's a few, but he'll Nestor will be back too. But I just want to Tucker, Kerry, Carlton, you guys are really
killing it.
You're doing great. So so she convinces the doctor, and with a nice smile, like I'll help you, and she's there. And then she goes back and she has this really interesting, this is what also the show does great. One moment you're like, oh, Norma, that's sweet, like she's a sweet lady. And then she goes back and has the interaction with Emma's mom, and she's back to sort of Norma, like do it like you understand Norma better than everyone else. Why was she?
You're crazy.
You're crazy. Norma's crazy. You're crazy. No. Why did you think she had the reaction to Emma's mother, to Audrey?
I don't know, and I was going to ask you that question because I don't know.
I'll break it out.
Oh yeah, and because the fact of the matter is I don't know, and I was trying to think back on what Emma said to Norma about her mother. And, I think that it has a lot to do, I can't pinpoint it, but I think it has a lot to do with something that she's going on with Norman right now. I think that has something to do with it, but I don't know. I was really
They
curious.
said it in there. They straight up said it. I don't know how you guys missed it. You're just, I'm embarrassed for both of you.
I have my theories.
I'm kidding.
No, but very specific, like when she says, like, hey, you're Emma's mom? And then that was it. So
because Emma's mom bounced. She left. Left. Now that leaves an emotional hole in a kid, right? And you see a kid whose mom has taken a pass. There is an emotional hole. That's to be expected, right? And then what Audrey's justification was is you don't know what it's like to raise a child with something clearly wrong with them, to have that hanging over your head every day.
But before
and Norma's
they had
like,
that,
the fuck I don't.
Well, hold on. Before they had that exchange, before that exchange,
downstairs,
the motel, like she was so happy, like, oh, you're Emma's mom? She's like, yeah, I have some stuff. She's like, I don't want to get involved. I'm out of here. Why so cold?
I'm that way. We have one of my wife's business is a dance studio. We have parents all the time that are never involved in their kids' lives. We have parents that have taken a pass for years and then show up. And
so you think it was just like,
when you see the emotional damage that leaving does to the kids if you don't stay in their lives.
Yeah.
You see the damage that, and if you deal with it on a day-to-day, when that person does show up, like, hey, I'm here,
right.
It's like, no one cares that you're here.
Oh, I buy that. I just didn't know that that's what Norma was.
That's what I think it was, yeah. And then
Norma doesn't seem like it was deeper, though. It seemed like there was something else there.
I thought more jealousy, more like Norma's like she's more my daughter
like
now.
Norma's possessive, like Norma's
like, who do you think you are?
As a daughter?
Emma's mine.
Because if anybody should understand leaving, Norma should, because Norma left Dylan.
Yeah, exactly.
She left him.
True. Yeah.
So maybe she could sympathize with that, and she seemed desperate. There's something else going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how is Norma going to react to the fact that Norman, or Mother Norma, has now strangled / maybe killed her?
Yeah.
Like, is she even going to be mad at this?
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But let me just get through the rest of this because we're going to get to the Norma. So after that exchange downstairs, then she comes up to the house, and then they have even a more harsher exchange, which is basically what she says. I need your help. I need you to give this to my daughter. I don't that, and then they have the exchange, which is. Again, if your theory is correct, that's fine. I don't see the face value motivation for that.
You think there's something more going on?
Oh, I have no idea. I think the only thing I can think of is if, aside from Norma just being Norma, is that like she's really, really possessive of Emma and just has her own problems. I mean, Norma is extremely selfish.
Yeah.
Like if she said it, like, I don't have time to get involved in all this right now. Like, I've got my own problems. I've got a sick son. He's been through so much right now. You have no idea how much he's been through. Get out of here. Like, leave. Okay, we can stay, but just get out. It's more of that. than it is like, I can't believe what a bad mother you are. That's how I took it, at least.
Well, I guess what I also saw is when Norman is Mother Norma, what he's yelling at her as he's killing her is that exact same thing. Yeah. He's saying,
well, but they aren't the same people. Like Mother Norma and Norma are like not even. They're not even,
they're not the. Thank you for that.
No, but I'm saying they don't have the same.
No,
they don't share the same.
But I think that maybe that is an interesting point that Flippo's making, though. That maybe Mother Norma is doing everything that Norma wishes she had the courage to do. She hated Bradley. She always said, "Hey, nice girls don't sleep around. Nice girls don't do this." And then so he is then like, where do you think he's getting all of this? He gets it eventually from Norma. He gets these.
But it's not a direct
thoughts.
Psychic link. I mean, I think it's projection of like what Norman thinks his mother, like like it's like a twisted view of like, well, my mother would think this, or I know my mother would think this.
And let's just be very, very clear to everybody out there right now is that Norman is unaware that when his mother is in front of him, that is a hallucination.
Yeah.
That he's completely unaware of that. So right now, he is thinking that his mother is doing all of this, and right now, what's going to happen, and this is going to be so interesting to see how
he's going to make moves to protect her.
Unfolds. Well, no, he's going to get angry with her because
why would you do that to
he's going to think
Emma's?
that she's crazy and she's a murderer, and she's thinking that he's crazy and he's a murderer, and this is going to be a really fun dance.
I agree with that. Well, let's get to that scene. So obviously before that scene, we have the great the scene where she calls up after she puts with the two cool scenes when we get to, and then we can get to the final scene where they reunite at the hospital. They do let him out. They reunited and have that it's a long uncomfortable hug, which was actually not necessarily uncomfortable. It was actually really sweet and I thought it was really sweet and wonderful. Sometimes
that was beautiful.
Yeah, sometimes it's like
music.
Yeah, it was very very endearing as opposed to creepy, which sometimes it is. And then they have the scene where the hair cutting scene where Norman is Freddie Highmore is scaring the crap out of me.
I hate when they add anything sharp into a scene where he's just acting cray-cray.
I mean, but he's just saying, "Hey, Mom, I just want to." Actually, if you read the page, he doesn't say much. That's crazy. He's like, "I'm happy to be home. It's good to be here. I don't want to leave you. Oh, promise me you won't take me away again."
Yeah, that's a great point. How it's all with mood and tone.
Like, if you read that on the page, it's like 4 lines, and then but the witch again Tucker Gates and the acting, it becomes this really menacing, insane thing. Like Vera Farmiga's reactions, like it's just an incredible scene.
Well, and that also serves to remind everybody of how much constant strain she's under. Yeah, because such a simple thing is fraught with fear and with stress and with and not just fear for your own personal safety, but fear that you gotta layer on hope too. I think that's ultimately resignation comes when you give up hope, right? You say, okay, terminally ill, blah blah blah, 6 months, whatever. You give up. You say, okay, it's done. And then you can make your peace with it. But what Norma deals with is the constant hope that he's going to be okay. She has those moments where they're filled with hope and despair at the same time. Like maybe he's gonna be all right. Maybe he's not totally fucked up. Yeah. And so that it's that constant up and down. Like, can you imagine the stress of that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's good. So I mean, it's unfortunately running out of time
feeds to romantic nature.
So
she immediately calls Romero.
And then goes over there and goes over there to propose to him.
That was bananas.
And just say like, in a very normal way, like, come on, what do you think? I like you? I mean, well,
it's 6:30 in the morning.
I know you're attracted to me.
Listen, I'll sleep with you if that'll make it better. You have insurance. We need insurance.
Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. And which seemed completely normal to me from Norma, but Du'a has another theory.
This is not. So I don't think that initially was why she went over there. Okay. I think that as much as every time she's in a crisis, she calls Romero. Right. Every single time. I think that when she said, "Hey, I know that you're sexually attracted to me," that was her projection onto him. But I think that she really wanted to talk to him about the fact that she's scared of Norman now, that he might have killed Bradley. And when she got there and she has this loyalty to him and she can't, she kind of lost her nerve. Right. So instead she comes out with this absurd, let's get married. I need insurance.
So you think that if Romero had opened the door and said, "Come inside and have a cup of coffee," it'd have been a different conversation, as opposed to him blocking the door and saying, "We're going to have our talk on the porch because you're BF crazy and I don't want you in the house right now."
Maybe like a little nurturing. I just woke up. What is it? And you're like, well, I don't want to,
So you think that's what it was?
And it's also, who do you think she trusts more in the world than Romero? Romero and, Dylan. But I think that her and Romero have such a checkered past with like the
They're
flash
in
drive.
love.
And the flash drive and the fact that she knows, like Romero now knows that Norman killed his dad.
Yeah, they're in love.
So that was a secret that she was carrying around with her for so long. And now he knows it. So she wants to tell him this too. And I think eventually she will.
There's one other thing that happened in that scene, aside from the obvious marriage proposal. And then the other question was, the other thing I thought was interesting is when he asked her about, is it Pineview? What is the loony bin that's so nice? Pineview. I keep forgetting.
The nice loony bin.
The nice loony bin. The pretty bin. And she goes, yeah, he's going to go there. And that's Norma, right? Like I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. There's not, hopefully, I'm going to really try. Right. We'll see. No, he's going to go there.
Yeah.
So it's expensive, that there's a wait list. Yeah, he's going to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because it's going to happen. All right, so we have 5 minutes to get through all this. There's a lot to get through. Let me just blow through this. So, obviously, that's insane that happened. But the kicker of the entire episode, an episode that's sort of like, as I was so busy being like lulled to sleep by being back and loving the characters and getting back and acquainted with everyone and how this is.
They kill somebody the first episode.
Well, so we see a great scene where Norman is locked in the room. We see him bust out of the room and have a freak out scene. Great Freddie Hammer acting. He falls on the floor. We see a great, wonderful camera pan down, and we see Freddie do a wonderful transformation move, which was terrifying.
Oh.
He puts on the bathrobe. He does a thing. Unsuspecting Audrey comes up, knocks on the door, thinking she's talking to Norman, but it's clearly, as we know, Norma, because he's got the body language. He's leaning with the hand. He's perfect.
He was made up a little bit, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think he was.
So he sits down. He makes the tea. I mean, his Vera Farmiga posturing and body language is fantastic. He sits and he listens to her, and it's so. I thought, look, he's totally her. It completely caught me off guard when he's like, oh, okay, and then went full psycho Norman and strangled her to death.
Yeah.
That's when I screamed. I was like, oh, this is the Bates Motel. So I want to just really get quickly, your reactions to that, so we can get to prediction and get out of here.
You know what it was? My reaction?
Yes. Thank you. That was extremely shocking to me.
So good though.
It was.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't know what to think of it. I think that they definitely wanted to do something huge at the end of the episode, and this is what it's crazy. I think I'm still in shock from the whole situation. My thing is it the anger of being locked in the room that triggered Norman to turn into Norma? If that's what did it, then that's just something that I think is a really interesting thing to look at, because it's almost like, because Norma's the one that locked him in the room.
Right.
From Norman's perspective, she's the one that's for her to turn in. I just think, I don't know. I don't even know.
Well, so let's just we're only a couple minutes. Let's just fold this over into predictions. So let's go into predictions now, and so we can
your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
What's that?
So I mean, we can talk about. So that's a lot. So Norma kills, or maybe not kills, or we haven't seen the previews. Folks online are telling us in the previews it seems that she is dead. And by the way, R.I.P. Audrey. I was just getting into Audrey. I liked her, and now she's out of here.
And the last thing I'm gonna say about it, I love that I love characters when they shoot it, and clearly the character's instincts are always wrong. And her instinct to go inside with that bunny in her hand, just wrong. I'm screaming at it wrong.
Yeah.
It's like when a black spider crawls across a white wall. Like millennia
racist.
And you know what? Norma warned her. She warned her. She's like, don't bother my son.
Okay, 10-second prediction, go.
10-second prediction. I think that obviously Audrey's dead, and Norma's going to help him hide it, and then hopefully gay doctor's going to fix him.
Okay, go. 10 seconds.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, she's got to be dead, but I think that Norman is gonna.
Can you do the 10-second part?
I'm sorry. I think that Norman is actually gonna confront Norma about the fact that she killed her, and that's how she's gonna find out that she killed her.
I agree. I think the drama will ensue when Norman gets really pissed at Norma for ruining Emma and all this stuff.
I can't believe what you did, and she's like, "What are you talking about?"
But the family's got to band together to sort of around Norman to protect Norman while figuring out what to do about this thing. And who's gonna be the most upset? Dylan. Emma, that triangle is Emma's mom. It'll be great.
Yeah, how is Emma gonna take this with new lungs? And she's not gonna take how to go with your mother dying.
Oh no, it's so sad. I hope she's not dead.
These lungs are good for crying.
I just want to say, for all you guys who are joining us live, again, thank you all of you for joining us. Again, Gisela, Marcella, Mary Kay, Anti-Kid. Kevin, all you guys, Domingo, the candle guy, the candle vlogger. Thank you for joining us. I can't even get to all of you guys. This is very exciting. We're so happy to be back. We'll be doing this every week at this time live.
Yes.
1 p.m. Pacific time. And so
Yeah, we
if
are
you
in LA.
want to check us out live, do that. If not, we'll be on iTunes and on YouTube. You can check us out there. Joe, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Joe Flippo, JoeFlippo on the Twitters, and website is josephsanfelippo.com.
Du'a.
Hi, I'm Du'a Kaissi. You can find me on the Twitters at Du'a Kaissi. That's Kaissi. I don't know why I say it like that.
I don't
all the
know
time.
either.
On the Twitters.
I'm Joe Braswell. You can find me here on Twitter and Instagram at Joe K. Braswell. And here on AfterBuzz doing other shows with Joe Flippo and Du'a sometimes. And we'll get some guests in here. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.